Discover the incredible secrets of silent success, a touching, life-changing journey revealed. In the heart of Maplewood, where laughter dances in the air and the scent of home-cooked meals wafts from every kitchen, Sarah Hartley stood at the window, watching her children romp through the backyard. Jamie, with his wild curls, chased 5-year-old Lily, whose giggles rang like sweet bells that once filled their home with joy. But Sarah's heart felt heavy as she witnessed what the world so easily overlooked, the burden she carried like an anchor, pulling her deeper into hopelessness. 2 years had passed since tragedy struck, leaving her a single mother fighting the waves of grief and struggle alone. Every day felt like an uphill battle. She woke before dawn to serve breakfast at the local diner, scraping by on tips that sometimes left her feeling invisible. After work, she raced against time, scrubbing floors and dusting shelves in homes that felt worlds apart from her own. With each paycheck, hope and despair locked in a relentless tug-of-war. Would these sacrifices ever lead her to something more than survival? As the annual Maplewood Festival approached, a vibrant celebration meant to highlight local heroes, the weight of her invisible struggles pressed harder on her heart. Families gathered, streaming with laughter and colorful banners, but to Sarah, it felt like the festival was a world in which she no longer belonged. The memories of her husband, who had been her rock, swirled through her mind, making it difficult to breathe. He would have led them through the festival, his infectious spirit lighting up their gatherings. Now, she stood alone and unsure, but this year held something new, a grand opportunity for budding entrepreneurs, a flicker of hope piercing through her uncertainty. Why not a bakery? She'd always dreamed of filling her kitchen with the smells of fresh bread and pastries, sharing those moments with her children. As she poured herself into the grant application, a new determination ignited within her. Yet, each step felt like running through quicksand. The daunting dialogues with town leaders who seemed to hover high above her ordinary life only fueled her insecurities. How could she ever stand shoulder to shoulder with them? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As festival night drew closer, Sarah finally decided to take her children, but that decision was bittersweet. Watching Jamie and Lily chase fireflies illuminated something hollow inside her. Amidst cheers and fairy lights, whispers brushed past her how some single mothers had flourished while she struggled to keep her family afloat. The comparisons tightened her chest, like a rope tightening around her heart. Would she ever find the courage to step into that spotlight? The festival buzzed. Heart racing, she faced a local leader who managed the grant committee. Words collided, revealing the tangled emotions she'd buried. In that moment, the air felt charged, hope and fear mixed into something almost electric. As she prepared to share her truth, the crowd's attention shifted, eyes locking onto her as silence fell. The flickering lights overhead seemed to await her response, and she stood on that precipice of recognition, her heart pounding. Would she find her voice, or would she retreat into the shadows, destined to be another silent soul in the crowd? The world spun around Sarah. The pressure of eyes on her felt both exhilarating and suffocating. She took a deep breath, heart racing, and lost herself in the connection of the moment. It wasn't just a crowd, it was her community, and she longed to share her story. Hello, everyone, she began, her voice shaking at first. I'm Sarah Hartley, a single mother of 2, and I've been on a journey that has tested every part of my heart. The crowd shifted, murmurs rising like the warm summer breeze, but she pressed on. Each word fueled her courage. I come from a place filled with love and loss, filled with dreams that sometimes feel unattainable. Jamie and Lily watched her from the front, their small figures illuminated under the colorful lights, their eyes wide with pride and concern. She focused on them, remembering what pushed her to this very moment. For years, I watched my husband build a future for us, a future that was shattered too soon. I think of him every day and want my children to know his dreams. Baking has always been a part of our family. It's how we celebrated, grieved, and loved. A wave of emotion swept over her, the entire crowd now captivated. It was an unexpected release, the remnants of her sorrow spilling into a hopeful vision. I want to create a bakery that not only brings the sweet sense of bread and pastries into Maplewood but also embodies a place where families can gather, heal, and create their own memories. As her words flowed, she could see heads nodding, connections forming with the community around her. The town's heartbeat resonated, a collective understanding. Here was this woman who, despite struggles, still sought to uplift others through the very essence of love cooking. Today, I stand here, not just asking for your support to help fulfill my dream of opening a bakery but to remind all of us that dreams, no matter how buried by grief or fear, can lift us and connect us in powerful ways, she finished, her voice raw but filled with newfound strength. The crowd erupted into applause, a sound like spring rain. Jamie ran to her side, a proud smile etched onto his face, while Lily tugged at her hand. The warmth of their love washed over her, mingling with the cheers of the crowd, filling every corner of her heart. For the first time in what felt like forever, Sarah felt seen, but then, amid the sea of encouragement, a familiar face emerged from the shadows, the town's mayor, evidently unmoved by her words. "That's a lovely sentiment," he said coolly, the crowd falling silent again. "But running a bakery is more than just dreams. Do you truly believe a single mother can deliver that kind of service to our community? We need consistency. Can you handle that pressure?" The air crackled with tension, and Sarah's heart sank. His question loomed over her like dark clouds, threatening to dim the light she had just ignited. What followed was uncertain, a confrontation between internal resolve and external skepticism. Did she have what it took? In that moment, her hope wavered between courage and doubt, but as she looked at Jamie and Lily, she felt an ember ignite within her. This wasn't just about her anymore. "Yes," she finally replied, her voice strong against the odds. The subsequent silence was thick, each beat pulsing with anticipation. How would the community react? Would Sarah's dream survive this challenge, or would she find herself swept back into the shadows again? As the festival lights flickered overhead, another question emerged in the hush: would she be able to turn this fleeting moment of hope into lasting success? The unexpected silence that followed her affirmation seemed to stretch into infinity. Sarah felt the weight of the mayor's gaze, heavy and unyielding. But she held her ground, drawing strength from the faces in the crowd, especially those of her children. Jamie's small hand clenched hers tighter, and Lily's wide eyes shimmered with the belief that only children possess. The townspeople stood still, their previous enthusiasm replaced with uncertainty. Sarah took a step forward. "I know my situation raises questions," she continued, her voice steady now. "But I believe we all deserve a chance to chase our dreams, no matter our circumstances." The mayor folded his arms, a skeptical look on his face. "It's a noble dream, Sarah. But what about the risks? A bakery isn't just about love and flour. It requires dedication and the ability to face countless challenges. Can you provide that?" The murmurs of the crowd returned, whispers of concern mixing with glimpses of support. Sarah felt a fire growing within her, fed by those whispers. "I understand," she told him. "But I also recognize the need for community, your community." Her heart raced as she gathered her thoughts, her words fueled by determination. Baking is about more than just making food. It's about creating connections between families, friends, and even strangers. With each loaf, each pastry, I want to share not just my husband's legacy but also invite you all to share in it, to be part of something greater. A few voices in the crowd piped up, soft but encouraging. "She's right. We need more than just a business, we need a place to gather," a woman called out. Nearby, another voice chimed in, "I'd be willing to help." The townsfolk began to nod in agreement, a flicker of hope reigniting, illuminating the thread of Sarah's resolve. The mayor, though still skeptical, was catching the shift in the atmosphere. "But can you do this alone? As a single mother, with children to care for?" I won't be alone, she declared, glancing at the familiar faces she trusted, friends and neighbors who had shared both joy and pain through the years. I'll have the support of this community, that's the beauty of our small town. We lift each other up. I'm not just asking for support in a bakery, I'm inviting all of you to be part of this dream. By now, the crowd was no longer quiet. Conversation sparked up like fireworks under the summer sky, chatter of potential bakers, volunteers, and even ideas for the bakery menu filled the air, yet even amid this bubbling excitement, Sarah felt the mayor's scrutiny still weighing heavily. Words are one thing, Sarah. But it takes a plan, one that proves you can be consistent, even under pressure. Do you have that plan? Swallowing hard, she nodded. I do. I'll need to refine it, but I promise, I'll work day and night to prove to you, to all of you, that I can rise to this challenge. If you help me with the first steps, I will make this happen. And just like that, Sarah felt the spark igniting into a fire. Jamie and Lily caught her eye, their pride palpable. Just then, she realized how much more than a bakery this was. It was a testament to resilience, a crucible through which dreams could either flourish or falter. As the crowd steadied itself, a palpable tension hung in the air, waiting for the mayor's response. How would he react to this wave of community support? Would he crush the dream or allow it to grow? The future of Sarah's bakery now lay in the balance, and the choice rested heavily on the shoulders of the town's leader. Would he see the heart behind her vision, or would doubt snuff out the flicker of possibility? The air was thick with anticipation. The mayor's eyes darted around the crowd, estimating the undercurrents of hope and apprehension swirling beneath the surface. Sarah held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum in the stillness. She could feel the gaze of her neighbors, the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. After a moment that felt like an eternity, the mayor finally spoke. All right, he said, his tone steady but tinged with caution. You've shared a lovely vision, but words won't cut it. If you want the town's backing, I need to see not just passion, but a solid plan. A hum of chatter rippled through the crowd. Some nodded knowingly, while others appeared nervous. Sarah's stomach twisted, but she steeled herself, letting the faint glow of determination guide her. I'm aware of the challenges. I'll draft a business plan that includes funding sources, a menu, even a timeline. This isn't just a whim, it's a commitment. A few residents exchanged glances, surprise flitting across their faces. It wasn't just any mother they were talking about, it was Sarah, the heart of their tight-knit community. In that moment, Jamie squeezed her hand again, a silent reminder of why she was up there in the first place. She needed to do this, to remind her children and herself that dreams were real, even in the face of adversity. The mayor studied her, his brow slowly softening. And what about the bakery itself? Have you considered where it will be? Sarah's mind raced. The old bakery on Main Street had been abandoned for years, but it had character, a history that might breathe life into her dream. I know just the place. The old Anderson's bakery. It has an open floor plan, and the kitchen is still functional. She took a breath, letting the thrill of it wash over her. I can see it now, fresh bread, pastries, cookies cooling on the racks. A gathering space where laughter strengthens bonds. As she spoke, more voices in the crowd lifted in agreement. I pass that place every day. It deserves a new lease on life, said a young man from the back. Let's make this happen. The mayor's lips curved slightly, a flicker of interest appearing under his skepticism. But if you're taking on such a big project, you'll need help. Are you ready to form a team and accept many hands in your kitchen? Sarah nodded fiercely. Absolutely. I'm not in this alone, I'll find people who can bake, volunteer their time, and even lend support in ways I can't imagine. I already see so many familiar faces who want to help. Together, we can do this. A wave of excitement swept through the crowd, fueling her resolve. People began to step closer, smiles breaking through the tension. Sarah could almost feel the collective heartbeat of her community unity thrumming among them like a joyous melody, yet she caught the mayor's gaze again, and a shadow flickered in her heart. But how long do you think this will take? Will the town grow impatient waiting for the bakery to rise? Sarah paused, feeling the weight of that question. What if her dream took longer than expected? But she couldn't let uncertainty steer her candidacy. Building a bakery a community isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, she replied, her voice steady. But at the end of the race, if we work together, we'll have something beautiful to share. As murmurs of agreement washed again through the crowd, she dared to hope. The barriers were lowering, and belief was shimmering in the air like freshly baked bread. But just as the mayor opened his mouth to respond, a sudden sound echoed from the back, an urgent commotion spilling into the gathering area. A figure burst through the crowd, panic etched across their face. There's been an accident down by the lake. They shouted, causing the festive mood to tremble like a fragile soufflé. Sarah's heart sank, for the world outside their dream had intruded once more, and with it, a gut-wrenching sense of uncertainty. Would her chance to inspire her community fade amid chaos? A collective gasp surged through the crowd, and Sarah felt every heartbeat, every rush of adrenaline. She glanced at Jamie, whose expression shifted from excitement to terror in an instant. They were just beginning to unite over a dream, and now the threat of tragedy loomed large. What happened? Sarah called out, her voice slicing through the rising panic. The figure, now closer, was a teenager from town, his hair wild and eyes wide. It's Ethan, he stammered. He fell into the water while trying to help his little sister. She's okay, but he's not coming up. The air crackled around them. Time seemed to slow, every second stretching into an eternity as Sarah's instincts kicked in. Ethan was a bright, spirited boy who loved the lake. He'd splash around in the summer sun and laugh with the other children. The thought of something happening to him was like ice filling her veins. Call 911. The mayor shouted, and a few people frantically pulled out their phones, the joy for moments before evaporating. Sarah's heart raced in her chest, but a strength surged within her. We need to help. Does anyone know how to swim? She asked, her voice firm, desperate for a response. A handful of individuals stepped forward, courage in their eyes. The mayor began organizing them into a search party. Sarah, you shouldn't go. Jamie warned, gripping her arm tightly, fear written all over his face. What if I have to, she replied, her voice trembling with urgency. He needs us. With that, she slipped from Jamie's grip and moved toward the lake, trying to block out the chaos. She could hear her heart pounding, the adrenaline fueling her steps. Each footfall drew her closer to the water's edge, where she could see the rippling surface, the frantic splashes of those diving in. As she reached the shore, a sense of dread washed over her. Mothers pulled their children close, the scene unfolding like a nightmare. Families trembled, holding each other, the laughter of earlier now a mere echo in memories already becoming distant. A figure broke through the surface, gasping, and Sarah's heart leaped. Was it Ethan? No, the lifeguard he was searching, but the seconds felt like hours. She could see the desperation on his face as he struggled through the water, searching blindly beneath the surface. Keep looking. You can do it. Sarah shouted, her voice ringing out with determination amidst the fear. Suddenly, a group of bystanders burst into action, forming a chain to pull in the lifeguard. It was a blur of movement, a testament to the strength of the community that Sarah cherished. They were all fighting back against despair. The bakery, her dream, was a thread connecting them, weaving a story of hope even now. But would this be a turning point for them, or would tragedy engulf her aspirations? In the depths of her thoughts, she realized this was beyond her plan, beyond her bakery. This was about life, connection, and the sheer will to come together. As darkness edged the horizon, Sarah stood firmly, eyes fixed on the lake, her heart a tempest of emotions. Can love pull them back from the edge? And would she have the strength to keep fighting for her dream amidst such heartbreak? The water shimmered under the fading light, creating a false sense of calm that contrasted sharply with the chaos surrounding it. Sarah's resolve hardened as she focused her gaze on the lake. They needed a miracle. "This can't be happening," Jamie whispered, his voice cracking. He stood beside her, looking torn between his instinct to protect and his desire to act. Sarah could feel the weight of his fear. It mirrored her own, but it was overshadowed by a fierce determination. The mayor was roaring orders, coordinating the swimmers who gathered at the water's edge. They were suited up and ready to dive in, but Sarah couldn't just stand by. She turned to Jamie, who seemed frozen in place. "We have to do something. If he's trapped down there, it's too dangerous. You can't just jump in," he urged, panic etching deeper lines on his brow, but Sarah's heart was screaming louder than his fears. She pulled away from him and headed toward the shore, feeling the gaze of the crowd press on her back. "Ethan! Can you hear me?" she shouted, desperation lacing her voice. Silence enveloped the water, thick and heavy. Sarah felt it wrap around her soul, squeezing until she could hardly breathe. Then, a flicker of movement caught her eye. The lifeguard resurfaced again, his expression troubled. He shook his head. The collective hopelessness was suffocating. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd as more people began to join the search. The lifeguard nodded to a couple of guys who looked ready to jump in. Their faces were set, and something in Sarah stirred. She swallowed hard. She couldn't just be a bystander. "I'm going in," she declared, her voice steady as she fought against the rising tide of fear churning in her gut. "No," Jamie shouted. "You can't. What if I won't let anything happen to him, Jamie?" She felt her own voice strengthen in that moment, as if it was reaching out across the water, to Ethan. The thought of him still down there, struggling, while she hesitated sent a shiver down her spine. In the blink of an eye, she was untying her shoes and sliding off her clothes. The coolness of the lake sent chills through her, but she pushed past it. She turned back to Jamie one last time, meeting his wide, terrified eyes. "I have to do this. Be my eyes, okay?" With that, she plunged into the water. It enveloped her, dark and murky, but her instincts kicked in. She fought against the current, propelling herself deeper. She could feel her lungs burning, but there was no turning back. All around her, shadows danced, and it was hard to tell where Ethan might be. As her eyes adjusted to the dimness, she began to search. The minutes dragged on, and just when she thought she might have to surface for air, her fingers grazed something cold and slick. Her heart raced. She reached further down, pulling against the weight of the water. Then, she found it, Ethan's arm. It was weak, but it was there. Relief flooded through her, but it was quickly met with terror. She grasped him tightly, feeling the hardness of his small frame. She began to pull him toward the surface, forcing the adrenaline to carry them both upward. Glimmers of light broke through as they neared the top. She could hear the frantic cries of the crowd. They were all waiting, praying. As she broke the surface, gasping for air, she felt a surge of hope. But the fight wasn't over. She had to get him to safety, and that meant sheer strength and will. "Hang on, Ethan," she shouted, buoying him with her kicks. Her eyes darted around for help, frantically searching for familiar faces. The water roared like a beast around them. Would they make it? Sarah felt the weight of possibility hanging in the air as she began to pull him toward the shore. The cheers she longed for still felt miles away. But then, darkness drifted into her vision. Would she hold on until the last possible moment? "Please," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. As the shore loomed closer, the glimmers of hope flickered defiantly in her heart. Would they make it before time ran out? The water thrashed around them, wild and unforgiving. Every kick sent waves crashing over her, pulling her down, threatening to drag them back into the depths. Sarah gritted her teeth, focusing on the light above. The shoreline felt impossibly distant, but she couldn't let doubt creep in. Ethan needed her. "You can't just give up," she called to him, her voice slicing through the chaos. She could almost feel his presence, calm yet frail, drifting away from her. "Stay with me." With every ounce of strength she had, she kicked harder. Sweat dripped down her brow, mingling with the water that splashed against her face. There were hands reaching out, desperate faces emerging from the throng on the shore. She could see the lifeguard now, shouting instructions, urging others to join him, yet it was just her and Ethan against the unfathomable depths. The darkness felt alive, wrapping around her like a cloak. Time was slipping, and every second stretched her resolve tighter. The panic in her chest tightened with every beat of her heart. Suddenly, a wave struck hard. It sent them spinning, pulling Ethan from her grasp. Pure fear raced through her veins. "Ethan!" She screamed, her voice swallowed by the uproar of the water. Frantically, she searched, her heart thundering in her ears. There. A dark shape beneath her. She reached again, fighting against the current, and her fingers found him. She hugged him close, feeling the weight of him in her arms. He was faint, his breath shallow, but he was still alive. "Just a little longer," she whispered fiercely, more to herself than him. She kicked once more, using the momentum to propel them up toward the light that poured onto the surface. As they broke through, air flooded into her lungs, sharp and sweet. Sarah's body felt like it might betray her, muscles aching, oxygen deprived. But there was no stopping now. She swung her legs, pulling Ethan toward the shore, where the crowd's cheers had turned into gasps. "Someone help!" she cried, voice raw and breaking as her legs began to falter. Hands reached down, grabbing hold of Ethan first. They dragged him free of the water, and Sarah felt a shudder of relief, if only momentarily. She could hear Jamie's voice, frantic and full of worry. His figure rushed through the crowd, arms outstretched. "Ethan!" Jamie yelled. The dread was palpable. Sarah's heart sank as she watched them pull him away, their faces blurring through her tears. She wanted to follow, to ensure he was safe, but her own strength began to wane. The cold water still clung to her skin, the weight of exhaustion pressing down. She felt fingers grasp her shoulders, pulling her back toward the safety of solid ground. "Are you okay?" A woman's voice, calm and cool, pierced through the fog of her worry. The world felt surreal, spinning from the adrenaline. She blinked and focused on the woman, who was already sitting her down on the grass. The crowd parted, whispers washing over the scene. It felt like a movie, yet the fear clawed at her. She needed to check on Ethan. Did he make it? She stammered, looking wildly for Jamie, searching for any sign of hope, but before anyone could answer, a shout broke through the crowd. "Clear some space." It was the lifeguard again, his authority echoing. Sarah's heart dropped, she felt dizzy. Questions swirled in her mind. Would he pull through? Had she done enough? Then, from behind the bodies, she saw Jamie's face, a mix of joy and terror. "He's alive!" he shouted, voice cracking with the weight of relief. A wave of emotions crashed over her: joy, relief, gratitude, and fear intermingled. She wanted to cry, to laugh, to scream. But another thought lurked in her mind, gnawing at her heart. If they had barely made it through this, what lay ahead? "Ethan, please be okay," she whispered, the words escaping her lips like a prayer. As she watched him being surrounded, she felt a spark of determination ignite within. The battle was just beginning, and she wouldn't face it alone. But what secrets, hidden beneath the surface, would they have to confront next? As the crowd buzzed around her, Sarah felt the trembling weight of everything that had just happened. She could still hear the roar of the ocean in her ears, the way the water had felt like a predator, pulling them down. But now, on solid ground, it was the overwhelming reality of the moment that threatened to drown her again. Ethan was alive. That thought was a lifeline, yet it came wrapped in fear. She strained her neck to see past the throng, searching for his familiar figure. That slim silhouette she'd run towards, the boy who felt like a piece of her soul. It was hard to grasp what had just unfolded, how close they had come to losing everything. Sarah, are you all right? The woman who had helped her was still nearby. She looked to be in her late 20s, her hair pulled back tightly, eyes sharp yet kind. There was genuine concern in her voice, and somehow, it only made Sarah's anxiety spike. I need to see him," Sarah managed to say, glancing around again. The noise of the crowd faded as panic clawed at her throat. No more waiting. She pushed herself to her feet, swaying slightly as she did, the energy of the rescue still surging through her. But she had to find Ethan. She had to be there with him. Suddenly, Jamie appeared at her side, his expression wild but relieved. "He's being treated, Sarah. They're working on him." Relief twisted through her, yet it was intermingled with a fear she couldn't shake. "Why is he? Is he okay?" "We don't know yet. They think he's going to be fine," but his voice trailed off, leaving an open space for all the unsaid words. Her heart twisted painfully. She wanted to dive deeper into the crowd, to push past every body in her way, but Jamie took her arm gently. "Let us wait. We'll know soon." "But waiting feels like drowning too," Sarah shot back, anger and fear bubbling together. The sensation of helplessness was unbearable. Before Jamie could reply, a siren pierced the air. An ambulance was approaching, its lights flashing in bright reflections. The crowd surged forward, voices rising like a wave again. Sarah's heart soared, hope mingling with dread. "Move back." A voice cut sharply through the chaos. The paramedics hurried toward the shoreline, carrying a stretcher. "Ethan!" She screamed, the name echoing like a desperate prayer. A few heads turned, but the urgency of the moment kept them focused ahead. She felt frozen, her heart racing so fast it felt like it might burst from her chest. "Come on, let us get closer," Jamie urged, pulling her gently through the bodies. Sarah tried to focus on his voice. She held Jamie's hand tightly, as if he was her anchor, as they pressed toward the front. Then, she spotted him. Ethan was lying on the stretcher, his face pale against the bright white of the ambulance. Tubes were affixed to him, beeping machines nearby. She felt her breath catch, the enormity of it all almost too heavy to bear. "Stay with me, Ethan," she whispered, desperate and raw. Suddenly, a figure in a white coat stepped towards them. The paramedic had a serious look on his face, and Sarah felt her pulse quicken again. "Is he going to be okay?" she asked, the words tumbling out. The paramedic hesitated, glancing at Ethan, then back to her. "He is stable, but we need to take him to the hospital for further evaluation." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Can I ride with him?" "Follow the ambulance, and we'll let you know as soon as we arrive," he replied, already moving back to his duties. "Sarah!" Jamie's voice broke into her daze. "Let us go, come on." As they rushed toward the parking lot, Sarah could hear the sirens again, the sobs of relief and sorrow sinking into her mind. The road ahead felt jagged and uncertain, but one thing burned fiercely in her chest: she wouldn't let go of Ethan, not now, not ever. What had started as a day at the beach now loomed as a reckoning. What challenges lay beyond the shore? With each step, she felt the weight of her promise swell within her. Their fight was far from over. And as they reached the car, something deep whispered, this was only the beginning. The drive to the hospital felt like a blur, the streets flashing by in a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds that barely registered. Sarah gripped the edge of the seat, her knuckles white, as Jamie's words replayed in her mind, "He is stable." But what did that really mean? Stable felt like a fragile promise in a world that had just tilted beneath her feet. She stole quick, anxious glances at Jamie, who was focused on driving, the tension in his jaw visible even from the corner of her eye. "Do you think he heard me?" she suddenly asked, her voice breaking the silence. "I don't know," Jamie said carefully, keeping his eyes on the road. "But you need to hold on to hope. That matters." Hope felt like a thin thread. The waiting, the uncertainty, it was a heavy burden she couldn't shake. Everything had happened so fast. Just moments earlier, they had been laughing, splashing in the waves. Now, it was all panic and running. Arriving at the hospital, bright lights assaulted her senses. They pulled into the emergency lot, and as Jamie put the car in park, Sarah was already scrambling out, her heart racing with urgency. She needed to be near Ethan, to feel connected to him amidst the chaos of doctors and nurses. "Wait!" Jamie called after her, rushing to catch up. "We need to check in first." "I don't care," she shouted, pushing through the sliding glass doors. The waiting room was buzzing, families huddled together, faces etched with worry. It was a ghostly mirror of what she felt in her heart. "Ethan!" She yelled instinctively, as if calling him would be enough to conjure him back to her. But only silence answered her. She took a shaky breath and approached the desk where a nurse sat, tapping fiercely at her keyboard. "My friend was brought in after a rescue from the beach. His name is Ethan Miller." Sarah could hear her own voice rise above the chaos. A few heads turned her way, but no one seemed to offer the comfort she desperately sought. The nurse looked up, her expression professional yet softened with empathy. "Please take a seat. I'll get someone to you as soon as I can." This waiting, it felt endless. The fluorescent lights buzzed above her, bright and harsh, and Sarah sat down, her fingertips drumming anxiously on the arm of the chair. Jamie settled beside her, his presence a small comfort amid the storm. "What if something is wrong?" Sarah whispered, the question weighing heavy and dark. She searched Jamie's face for reassurance, but all she saw was a mirror of her own fear reflected back at her. "They're professionals," he replied, though doubt cloaked his words. "They know what they're doing." Minutes turned to hours. Time lost all sense of meaning as each second stretched unbearably thin. Fragments of other families swirled around them, some sharing quiet words, while others wept softly. Sarah couldn't listen, was too caught up in her own whirlwind of emotions, despair clawing at her insides. Finally, the heavy door swung open, and a doctor stepped through, clipboard in hand and a serious expression plastered across his face. Sarah's breath hitched as he approached them, every heart-wrenching scenario flashed through her mind. What if he was too late? What if he didn't make it? "Are you Sarah?" the doctor asked, his voice steady but gentle. "Yes," she replied, her heart racing. "Ethan, is he okay? Please tell me he is okay." The doctor hesitated for a moment that felt like a century. "He is stable, but there are a few injuries we need to discuss." A chill washed over her. She wanted to beg him to just tell her he was okay, to see Ethan's eyes shining with life again. But something told her this wasn't over. And just like that, Sarah knew their path was about to twist again. Whatever awaited her on the other side of that door, in that sterile hospital room, would change everything. "What do we have to face?" she whispered, knowing deep down that this was just another chapter beginning in their story, a story she was determined to fight for. When they finally entered the room, she caught her breath again. Ethan lay still, but that familiar spark she cherished was yet to be seen. Would he remember everything? Would they find their way back from this? As she grasped his hand, a single question flickered in her mind: what secrets lay within the silence that followed? The stark white walls of the hospital room felt more like a cage than a sanctuary. The beeping machines surrounded them like an unwanted chorus, punctuating the heavy silence with their relentless rhythm. Sarah could barely hear herself think above the surge of emotions. She took a step closer to Ethan's bed, her heart racing as she tried to comprehend the fragility of life laid out before her. "Hey, buddy," she said softly, wrapping her fingers around his small, unmoving hand. "It's me, Sarah, your mom. I'm right here." The warmth of his palm felt like home, warm, safe, and achingly familiar. Jamie shifted beside her, eyes glued to Ethan's face. "He is going to wake up, right?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. There was a tremor in it that matched the unease in Sarah's heart. She squeezed Jamie's hand, offering silent reassurance. Hope flickered, but doubt lingered at the edges. Minutes turned into what felt like hours. Sarah fought the urge to succumb to fear, recalling the warmth of laughter from the festival, the joy of her children running in the sunlight. She missed that sense of connection, but even more, she wanted to create it anew. She couldn't lose that dream, the bakery they had envisioned together, filled with aromas of love and comfort. A knock broke their concentration, and a nurse entered, her expression warm yet professional. "We're doing everything we can," she reassured them, noting the tension in the air. "He is stable, but we're monitoring him closely for any complications. It may take him some time, but he is a fighter. It sounds like he gets that from you." The nurse's words wrapped around Sarah, tightening like a warm hug. They held meaning, a flicker of renewed hope she clung to with desperate fingers. "Thank you," Sarah breathed, feeling the tears well again, not of sorrow but of gratitude. "He needs to come back to us." As the nurse left, moments trickled by, they didn't feel like minutes anymore. They felt like threads of time weaving a fabric of love, a tapestry of moments where hope fought against despair. Sarah's resolve only strengthened. She envisioned that bakery, the laughter of families nestled within its walls, the smell of freshly baked bread embracing each visitor. It would serve as a reminder of what they had been through and how far they would rise, together. Suddenly, a soft moan escaped Ethan's lips. Sarah gasped, leaning closer, heart fluttering as his eyelids fluttered like fragile wings. "Mom!" he croaked, the sound sending a rush of warmth through her. "I'm here, Ethan," she replied, her voice firm yet tender, the world around them momentarily forgotten. "You're going to be just fine." He blinked slowly, confusion evident on his small face. "What happened?" His voice carried a thin thread of fear, an echo of her own. Sarah's heart ached, but she wouldn't let fear knot itself into her words. "You were brave, sweetheart," she said. "You helped your sister, and I'm so proud of you. We're going to make it through this, together." His brow furrowed as he struggled with understanding. Jamie leaned closer, speaking gently. "You saved her, Ethan. You were a hero." That simple word hung in the air, reverberating warmth, a powerful reminder of resilience and unity, the very foundation of their lives, their community. Ethan squirmed slightly, his spirit fighting through the haze of confusion, the spark of life igniting warmth back into the room. "Will we go back home?" Sarah nodded vigorously, her smile wide. "Yes, of course. And I'm going to open that bakery. We're going to fill it with sweet memories, treats to celebrate the little things in life. Just think of all those cookies." Ethan chuckled weakly, feeling comforted by the image of chocolate chip cookies cooling on the counter. "Can I help?" "Absolutely," Sarah said, tears glimmering in her eyes. "We'll bake the best cookies Maplewood has ever tasted. You, me, and Lily." Jamie watched the exchange, feeling the wave of hope roll through the room. Yes, there was a struggle ahead, but together they would face it like they always had, with strength, love, and the unwavering belief that dreams could arise from even the darkest moments. She felt that in their hearts, the countless faces of their community, standing strong beside them. Outside, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden light across the room, illuminating the way forward. "You're not alone, Ethan," Sarah whispered, a promise wrapped in her voice that echoed with boundless love. "We'll fight through this like a team. Our story is only just beginning." In that moment, Sarah realized that life was not just about burdens, it was about upliftment, transformation, and the powerful connections that bound them all together. They would find joy in the everyday and weave new threads of laughter through the tapestry of grief. Sarah looked down at her son, his eyes glimmering, reflecting the love and hope that had grown stronger through every trial. As the foundation of their bakery dream solidified in her mind, she felt the stirring of true success pulse in her heart, unshakable and real. And as they shared smiles, laughter, and the promise of a bright future, she knew that whatever lay ahead, they would rise stronger, together. Now is the moment to show your support. You need to hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Help fuel our journey. Leave a like right now to spread joy in the hearts of many. I want to hear your thoughts. Comment below and share your feelings about this heartfelt ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who truly need to see this transformation. Your support means everything to us.